אנחנו מאמינים בני מאמינים, אנחנו מאמינים בני מאמינים, ואין לנו עמי להישואל, ואין לנו עמי להישואל, אוי אלו אלו אלוהינו, אלו אלו אלוהינו, אבינו שבשמיים, אנחנו מאמינים בני מאמינים, ואין לנו עמי להישואל.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Boker Tov. Can you tell your neighbor Boker Tov? Good morning. Boker Tov. All right. And normally we say hello, Shalom, but today we say again what? Shabbat Shalom. The peace of the Sabbath. Shalom means a peace or wholeness, and you're asking the person, do they have peace or wholeness, by saying hello. And when you exit, just like aloha, coming and going, you say shalom when you exit the conversation. Also, how do we say, how are you? Mashlomcha for a man, which means what's your peace, and mashlomech, mashlomech for a female. All right. So let's go ahead and start with a word of prayer and ask the Lord to bless this time. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we thank you, Abba, for your blessings on our life. All good and perfect gifts come from you, and they shall shine down from the Father of lights. We thank you for teaching us that Yeshua is the light of the world. And even as we looked at Bereshit last week and move on to Noach this week in the portions, we thank you, Lord God, that you're shining the light, that original glory of the Shekinah glory, the Shekinah of your presence, that you shined at creation. Before there was a sun, moon, or stars on the fourth day, you shine forth your light into the dark place, and the entrance of your word brings light. We thank you that you illuminate our eyes to see, open up our ears to hear, cause our hearts to understand the deep things of God from the language of Hebrew, Ivrit, the language that is called Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue. And Zephaniah 3:9's prophecy will be fulfilled, that you will restore a pure language to your people today. We pray all these blessings in the name of Yeshua. B'Shem Yeshua. Amen. All right, so welcome our first timers here today, and let's give it up for our first timers in the house. New students of Hebrew, and they're familiar with the Messianic congregation, but this is going to be their first time, so we're going to take our time nice and slow today and enjoy the ride. We're looking at Parashat Noach today, and we also have some vocabulary words I want to go over first so that we can properly read the handout of the first portion. And so we are going to see that this is the second portion of the Torah for the year. So we always read a portion of the Torah from Shabbat to Shabbat, even as it says in the book of Acts 15 that they always had Moses read in the synagogue in the days of Yeshua. We always have to understand that there was no New Testament written in Yeshua's day. There were no churches with steeples and crosses or stained glass in Yeshua's day. The local meeting place was the Beit Knesset. Say Beit Knesset. That means a house of assembly, just like the Knesset that we see in Israel. The Beit Knesset is a house of assembly. It is also known as a synagoga in Greek, bless you, a synagoga, which is a synagogue, and that is a Greek term. And we can see that that was really firmly established during the time where Jews were not able to really study Torah by a certain point because of the Greek rule, especially by the time a Greek Syrian ruler by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes comes in. We have the Hanukkah story, and many of you have studied with us or celebrated with us the Hanukkah. We're going to have a great Hanukkah this season because we're going to make it a community event right out here and put up tables and booths, and we're going to ask the mayor to come light a candle. We're going to ask the city officials to come light a candle, and we're also going to ask pastors, local pastors, to come light candles because we want to shine the light of Yeshua to this community. Amen. So we're really excited about that. And then we know the prophet reading came in when the Torah was outlawed, the reading of the prophet known as the Haftarah. Some people pronounce it Haftorah. The law and the prophets, the Torah and the prophets, became the normal reading every week, along with the Psalms, for liturgy, worship, and praise. So it's amazing that David was able to be the covering for the Songbook of Israel. So as we take a look at all of the writings, if we take a look at all the writings of the Hebrew Scriptures, we understand that Scripture was written down on scrolls first, and the ancient text had no vowels. these vowel points that we call nikkud vocalization, these dots and dashes give us the power to understand the ancient sound of the letters, at least as it's spoken in modern Hebrew, with some adaptation, because ancient Hebrew might have had a little bit more of a guttural sound sometimes, and we'll be able to practice that. So to kind of understand that, let's take a look at your Hebrew handout if you're new today, and you'll see that I have the Hebrew alphabet, the alphabet. You can hear that, aleph, bet. It's like saying the A's and B's. Instead of like we say in English, the ABCs. In Hebrew, we just say the A's and the B's, the aleph, bet. And I'm not talking about the grocery store alphabeta, but alphabeta, or in Greek, alphavita, is the way modern Greek pronounces it, actually is the same as the aleph, bet. So the B sound could have a V sound, just like in modern Greek today. The beta is really vita. Almost all their vowels are now E's. Instead of upsilon, it's I think of one of the ones that are more prominent. Pretty much all the vowels in the Greek language are E's. But in Hebrew, we have specific vowels and specific letters. So we've taught you to say 5 letters at a time with a short break in between. Next 5, short break, take a breath. Next 5 until you get to the 20, and there's 2 left, the last 2. So let's practice that. 1, 2, 3.
Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud. Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech. Ayin, Pei, Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav.
12 minutes. Oh, very good. So before we go to the nikkud vocalization of the sound of the vowels, let's actually take a look at the names of the aleph, bet. They're either 1-syllable names or they're 2-syllable names. The 1-syllable, obviously, you don't have a question on which syllable gets the accent. Okay? So, what's an example of a 1-syllable name for one of the letters? The second letter is?
Bet.
Bet. Now, you'll hear people pronounce it bet, but if you really do the way it's spelled, it's pronounced bet. So everyone say bet.
Bet.
So there's no question on the syllable, the accent. But how about the first letter of the aleph, bet, and that would be the aleph. Now, it would be wrong to say aleph, because all of the 2-syllable names for the letters, you always lean on the first syllable. So practice with me. The first letter is what again?
Aleph.
It would be wrong to say what?
Aleph.
No, aleph. You left something out. Aleph. No, it's aleph. So then you get to bet. We know that's 1 syllable. What's the next letter?
Gimel.
Gimel. So notice it's not gimel, it's gimel. Now, gimel is from gamal, camel. It's a ancient picture of a camel. And Gamaliel, or Gamliel, is the teacher of Rav Shaul, the Apostle Paul. So we know that he was loaded up with blessings like a camel.
Yeah.
Rich men had lots of camels, and you carried all your wealth. And we won't talk about the eye of the needle and the camel going through it today, but you can actually see how these syllables, they have an accent. What controls the accent is the vowels, the nikkud vocalization. Okay? So, always remember that. Now, how do you pronounce the CH in Hebrew? It is not ch, as in church, it's the CH in Bach, the composer, right? Bach. So, Bach. So make sure you do not pronounce the letter as chet, but chet, right? What's the other letter that has that sound? Chaf. Now, that's originally what? Kaf, and then it becomes chaf, okay? So chaf is the letter without the dagesh. So we can't get in all of that today, but notice that certain letters change sound when the dagesh is not present. The dagesh is the dot in the center of the letter. The dagesh means it's forte, or in Spanish, fuerte. That means it's strong. It's chazak, strong. So it usually strengthens something in the letter, whether pronunciation or the strengthening of a doubling of the letter. Like in Shabbat. Shabbat, we spell it with 2 B's. Many Israelis put 1 B because they don't like wasting a letter, because the Torah never wastes a letter. And so we would have Shabbat Without vowels, it would look like this. With the proper sounding, the sh sound of the letter sheen has to have the dot on the right side because this is the right way to pronounce it. So the dot's on the right, it's a SH. If the dot's on the left, it's what? The seen. So it's the S sound. So that would spell the name Sarah. So the same letter can give you sh or s based upon whether the dot's on the right. The right way to pronounce it is sheen, and on the left, that would be the secondary way to sound the letter seen. Okay. So we put vowels in. What is this called? Patah. So if you flip your page over, you'll see that after the aleph bet, you'll see a whole chart for the vowels. What do we put inside of this letter here? First of all, what is this letter? Bet. But in this form, it's what? Bet. Right? So there's no dagesh, so it's a V sound. So we need the dagesh in here to strengthen the sound to be a strong B. One of the BeGaD KeFaT letters, right? That have a special sound, or at least used to have always a special sound in the Hebrew. Okay, so now here we have underneath what nikkud vocalization mark? Kamatz. So this is patah, this is kamatz. This is a medium length A, this is a long A. So where's the accent going to be? Okay, so that means how do you differentiate what's a syllable? What's a syllable?
That's a vowel and or a consonant and a vowel.
C plus V
Minimum.
it equals an open consonant, open syllable, right? So consonant plus a vowel. All you need is one consonant letter and a vowel to begin to read Hebrew. Which direction do we read? From right to left. So you start with the letter, you find out what it is, you find out its transliteration, like it is on the chart, it's an SH. So we can already start spelling out this word, right?
Yeah.
What's the vowel underneath here? Tell me its name.
Patah.
Patah.
Ah.
And it's a medium ah sound. Okay? It's an A vowel but pronounced ah. Okay, we'll do the vowels in a second. And then we have the what letter here? Bet. Now I said that it gives it a strong B sound, but in this case it's going to also double the letter to strengthen its spelling. So most of the time when you see a dagesh, if it's not the first letter of a word, it actually strengthens the letter, okay, in spelling it, and sometimes in pronouncing it. And then we have, this sound is a long A, so we have ah. And then what's this letter? Tav. Now how did we go from Shabbat to Sabbath? When the Greeks saw this letter, they didn't have a letter equivalent to the sh sound. They only had a s. So they lost the H and it became Sabbath instead of Shabbat. And they still had the same exact letters, but there's a rule among Ashkenazi pronunciation that if there's not a dagesh in the letter Tav, like this, if there's not a dagesh, it's not a strong T, it's a soft T like in a TH. I would caution you not to pronounce it like an American TH, like the, but like instead of it's a softer T. What happens is we have the spelling of the TH for the softer T. The H is softening the T. So that's what happens with Beit becoming Beth, like Bethany, Bethlehem, right? Beit Lechem. It's originally a T, but it becomes a TH. That's how you get that. So Shabbat is the what?
Sabbath.
Sabbath. Okay, so now let's pronounce our vowels. We're going to do it 3 times through since we have new students here today. Okay, so all we're going to do is take the A, E, I, O, U and pronounce it A, E, I, O, U. Okay, 1, 2, 3. A, E, I, O, U. Again. A, E, I, O, U. One last time. A, E, I, O, U. So you have to change your brain from thinking American vowels. And remember, in Hebrew, there's only A, E, I, O, U. And if you want to make an Americanized sound of a vowel, you literally have to add a letter. Like the EY in English, in the word hey. Imagine if you had a vowel that represents an E and then you have the letter Yud, which would be a Y. That EY sound is going to give me an Americanized A, like in the letter hey. Okay? Sometimes you can see where it will create a diphthong of I, like in Adonai. Adonai. There's usually an I at the end. In some transliteration, they spell it with the Y because the letter U is at the end. Okay? Any questions so far? Especially for those that are new. Okay, so let's review. Basically, you have a simple open syllable as one consonant with a what? Vowel. But the other option is to have a closed syllable. And what do we need for that formula?
Another consonant.
Another consonant. So C plus B plus C equals a closed syllable. So here's an example. The letter bait, a long vowel here, the ah sound, and then it's closed off with a tav. So what we're saying is the first syllable sha, I won't say sha. Your mouth stays open, so it's an open syllable. It only had a consonant with a vowel. But we close the door to the second syllable by putting another consonant. So we have consonant plus a vowel, consonant. So how do you read Hebrew? You start with a consonant, and where do you look for the vowel? Underneath. If you don't see it underneath, where do you look for it? To the left. Sometimes you're going to have it underneath and to the left. Because certain vowels can be used as a vowel indicator or a vowel itself. How many are those? 5. So we have 22 Hebrew letters. Half of them can be what?
Prefixes.
Prefixes. That means it's a letter fixed in front of the word to represent a whole concept or a word. And then we have how many vowels? 5. Which also means we have 5 vowel indicators. We have 6 special letters with the use of the dagesh that are called BeGaD KeFaT letters. If you're new today, don't expect to get all this. You're just kind of getting familiar with some concepts. And what happens is the enlarged letter there is the action of the letter. So the B would be bait, the G, gimel, the dalet, kaf, the letter pei or fei, and the letter tav. Those 6, when they had a dagesh in it, there was a special rule acquainted with it. We won't touch that today, okay? So now, we did our sounding. Now let's review. If we have lines underneath the letter, like these lines here, what sound is it usually? Ah. If we have dots, multiple dots underneath a letter, say like this one, usually what sound is it? So if we see a dot like this, or we see dots like this, or we see dots like this, or we see dots like this, these multiple dots, without knowing the length right now, the multiple dots look like eggs. So it's an egg sound. So you see those multiple dots, it's eggs, right? So what sound do you hear here? Eh. So we have ah and we have eh. How about one dot, like the dot on an I? The one dot underneath the letter is what? E sound. So the vowel I is pronounced how? E. So we have our ah, eh, E. And you see it on your vowel chart. Then the last 2, we normally use the letter vav. We normally use the letter vav, and if the dot is on top of the vav, it goes from a V consonant to now being used as a vowel indicator. It's indicating a vowel. So the dot on top is reminds us of that bird in the air. So when we see that bird in the air, we go, oh! We don't say ooh, we say what? Oh, look at that bird in the air. Now ladies, if you have a nice person on your side, another lady's going to say what? Ooh. So the O is usually made by a vav with the dot on top. The oo sound, or U, is made with a dot on the side. So, oh, look at that bird in the air. Ooh, look at that nice purse. See, there's a little purse on the side. Ladies always have their purses. And what they have in it, only God knows. All right, so there's a review of the vowels. Now let's see if we can transliterate out these words. So I'm gonna erase this. Hopefully you got this concept. And I'm gonna go ahead and put an arrow, and we're gonna transliterate these words. And you're gonna tell me what the letters are, reading from right to left, and we're gonna spell out the word. What's this first letter?
Tav.
Tav. The last letter of the alphabet is Tav. I'm gonna put a T. All right. Okay, and then the next letter is what? No, wait a minute. We look for a vowel where normally? Underneath the letter. I don't find it. We're reading from right to left. I just have one letter tav, that's a T. Where's my vowel? If I don't see it, I look where? To the left. Wait a minute. We just learned that the vav can be a consonant, V, but in this case, there's a dot on top of it. That means it's being used as a vowel. A vowel indicator. The dot on top is what sound? Oh. So we're going to put an O here. Oh, I'm writing like an Eber. Okay, O. All right, what's the next letter? Lamed. Okay? Now wait a minute. Underneath is not a normal vowel, but a Shabbat. We're in Noach today. Shabbat. Noach, or Noah means to rest, right? He will give us rest or comfort. So Noah in the Bible means, his name means rest. Well, this is what we call a Shabbat. It's a special vowel. Sometimes it's a short E sound, the shortest E possible. In this case, it is not a vowel at all. It comes to a glottal stop. It's going to cut off our syllable and give us a closed syllable. We have a consonant plus a vowel plus a consonant. So sometimes we'll even indicate that by putting a little apostrophe in the air that we're coming to a stop. There's no vowel in between the next two consonants. So instead of having a vowel here, we come to a glottal stop. Tol. Everyone say tol. Tol. So T-O-L is tol. So then the next syllable starts with a what? A dalet. So we're going to put the letter D here. Wait a minute. There's nothing underneath this letter either for a vowel. Where am I going to look? To the left. Now wait a minute. Isn't this dot the same height as this dot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we find out it's actually the same vowel. It's an O. But there's no vowel underneath. So this is usually called a Malay, full form. The full longest way to make a vowel for O is the vowel with the O on top, the dot on top. In this case, it's still an O, but it's not as long. And this is an O sound. So we're going to go ahead and put an O here. And then the letter Tav is going to give us the T. So this is what? Toldot. Everyone take a look at your word here, Toldot. If you look on the back, it says generations. So anytime a generation or a genealogy is written, this is the word that's used, Toldot. It comes from the word Tolda, as in the word for girl, Yalda. Yalda is a girl, Yeled is a boy, from the same root. The root of this is to bear children. So a genealogy is a list of the children that are born. So this is the word for generation. Toldot. You find it all through the scriptures that this is the generation of. This is the genealogy of. We could say in Matthew, this word is used for the genealogy of Yeshua the Messiah. In Matthew chapter 1. Toldot. Okay? This is the full form. Notice that the Vav has a dot on top here. Normally we should have a Toldot a generation there. Why is the Vav missing according to scholars that are Hebrew scribes?
Because it's not perfect.
Because his generation was not perfect. So Noah was perfect in his generation, but his generation was not perfect. So they don't write it in the full form, they write it in the shorter form, because something his generation was missing as far as righteousness. Okay? Yes?
With Toldot, you can actually have it without either vowel, right?
Right, and that's like Ishmael's generation.
Yeah.
Ishmael's generation doesn't have either vowels, and they just have the dot floating in the air because his generation was really lacking something. And so you see that there is something the scribes are trying to teach us about the generation, whether it was a righteous generation or unrighteous. Okay? So Toldot Noach means the generation of Noah. So here's the word Noach, and I'm going to go ahead and spell it out. This is the letter what? Nun. Don't get it confused with the Vav. The long footing at the bottom is the letter Nun. So we're going to put an N. Joshua the son of Nun is really Joshua the son of Nun. N-U-N is the letter Nun. It means a fish. It means to multiply, to increase, like fish multiply in the ocean. Okay. So here you have the dot floating in the air again. Right? So this is why we put the O there. And we have a consonant and a special rule underneath. This patach underneath the consonant that should be pronounced but transliterated as a CH. Normally, we would put the vowel after the consonant. Only with the letter chet, when it's at the end of a word, you pronounce the vowel ahead of it. So this is going to be the vowel here, Noach. Say Noach.
Noach.
So this is Noah.
So that would be an exception to the rule.
This is an actual, it's not so much an exception, it is the rule of the letter.
Oh, that.
Yeah, exception to the rule means there's a rule set up,
Uh-huh.
and it's an exception. But here's the thing, it's more than just an exception, it's actually a created rule. Because that means if there were times where you would not do that and there's still a vowel underneath it, we would probably call that the exception. This is such a strong principle, it's not even an exception, it's an actual rule now.
For that letter.
For only that letter. So that's why it's not an exception, because it is the set rule for that letter. Whenever the chet is at the end of the word, and there is one line underneath it called epatah, that always gets sounded before the furtive patah, we call it furtive. That means it just wants to jump ahead and sound before the letter. Okay, again, these are scribal rules. These were created by the Masoretes. The Masoretes are the Masoretic text, kind of as a restored text to us with vowel points so we can pronounce it. Because in other generations, they would read from the scroll, they'd have to learn from teacher to student, father to son. And so that's the way the Torah is taught in the Hebrew tongue. So when a father who speaks Hebrew moves to another country and adapts the pronunciation of that country, then the Hebrew changes and morphs. In the same way, if you live in New York for a while, you're going to be talking faster, and you live in the South, you'll be talking slower. You're going to be talking like a Southern preacher, you know, who talks real slow. And my grandmother from Louisiana used to say, Brian, would y'all like to have some pralines? Pralines. It's like New Orleans. You know, that's the way she would pronounce her words. You know, in New Orleans. I mean, it's just a completely different sound. You talk to someone from California, the way we pronounce English is completely different just from another state in the Union. So here you go to England, they don't even understand each other. From one neighborhood to another, the accents change. So Hebrew is the same way. Most Israelis would say we don't speak Hebrew the way they do. Well, of course we can't. We're not from Israel. We travel there, we learn from them. My Hebrew teacher was Israeli, and even being her student for 3 years and having her as a continual friend for like a lifetime, I know that I can never pronounce the letter Resh like she does. Like I could get close. Instead of Baruch, you hear people say Baruch, Baruch atah Adonai. It's not Baruch, it's Baruch at the end, Baruch. But her R is so soft, Baruch. She sounds Baruch. It sounds like a W sound. Her R is so soft. It doesn't ripple like in the Spanish or Latin-based languages. It's soft. It's a soft R on the back of the throat that sounds like a W to me. Baruch. Baruch atah Adonai. It's like they barely touch the word and move on. It's like hearing the difference between Spanish from Spain, Spanish in Mexico, and Spanish in Puerto Rico. My wife's Puerto Rican, you know, Sephardic Jew, and her Puerto Rican Spanish is completely different from people that are from Mexico that speak Spanish. The accent's different. The accent is different. So you're going to have issues with pronunciation. Just know that you just got to get the basics down. Let's quickly go through this one. We have the letter what? Tav. We put another T. Underneath the kamatz, what sound is that? We have the mem. Perfect example of two letters here that are exactly the same but they're written differently. Our vowel underneath is the E sound, which is an I. And then it's followed by a yud, which makes it longer. The E sound with the y, E. That just lengthens the E sound. So instead of just E, it's E, E. You hear that Y sound at the end? E. So this is a long I. And then wait a minute. This letter is the same as this letter, isn't it? This is mem. Anywhere in the world, in the word, it looks like this. At the end of a word, there are only 5 letters in Hebrew that have a different look at the end of a word. Those 5 are called sofit, which means end. Sof means end. Okay, so we have so far we have the tav, we have the vowel underneath the kamatz, we have the mem, we have the yud that makes a full I vowel or E sound. And then we have a mem sofit. 5 letters are called sofit, and that means they have a different look at the end of a word. This is one of them. And so we're going to put that, tamim. This means perfect. So we had toldot as a card. We have Noach, Noach, generation of Noah. And he was what? Tamim, which means he was perfect or blameless. Kind of that concept of without spot or wrinkle, the way the bride of Messiah should be when Yeshua returns. It doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. It means that we always do what's right. That even means repent, do teshuvah, return back to God when we make mistakes. You know what I love about my daughter? When she actually recognizes she did something wrong, she quickly fixes it herself, and I don't have to show her anymore. That's what the Father in heaven loves. Wow, they saw the error of their ways. They saw they were going the wrong direction. They immediately said, no, that's the wrong direction. Let me go this way. Kind of like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Like you learn how to make decisions really early, and if they're lost in a forest, they know the different ways to know that they're not going the wrong way. What if we could catch ourselves early and not have to end up in a ditch somewhere spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, economically, maritally? What if we could catch ourselves and repent and turn back to God in the right direction? I'll say this, if we're hearing the voice of God in everything we do, we'll always know which direction to go. He'll say, here's the path, walk in it. Because he'll direct the way Adam walked with God in the cool of the day. It's interesting that Noah walked with God. And that was one of the things that caused him to be able to be perfect. It's not perfection in himself, he walked with God. See, this thing that you can't attain perfection, well, not human perfection, but divine perfection is attainable when you have a perfect heart as he has. Because that means everything that he speaks from his heart, you hear it in your heart and you follow his direction. My daughter could do great in school as long as she follows Daddy's lead and her teacher's instruction. She'll do great. She'll ace and get 100% on her test every time. The day she doesn't study, the day she doesn't read, the day she doesn't prepare, the day she doesn't listen, she's bound to fail. Or at least miss half or even a large number of words that she already knows. She'll miss it. She's not paying attention. Okay? We're almost done. So we see that Sadiq is the next word. And that's going to be with a TZ sound. But this really is a very noisy S sound. Everyone say that. Say mitzvah. Mitzvah. How many know what a mitzvah is?
Yes.
A commandment, or in Judaism they sometimes call it a good deed. A mitzvah. Hear that sound. It's not the same as the softer S, like Sarah, more gentle. But it's a noisy S. So they transliterated TZ or TS. It's like you started to pronounce a T, but you went into an S sound. Or started to pronounce a T and went into a soft Z sound. So it's, everyone do that. And we have the A. We have the Dalet for the D. We have the Hirik Yud, and which is giving us an I vowel, just like the Hirik Yud here. It's a long I. And then we have the letter Kuf, which is the K. You can spell with the Q, with the letter Q, but most Israelis use the K. So Sadiq is a righteous person. Yeshua is Hasadik, the righteous one. Noah is also called Hasadik, the righteous one. There's certain people that God calls righteous in the scripture. So that no, there's none righteous, no, not one. If you really read what Rav Shaul was quoting, he was quoting all the references in the Hebrew scriptures and the Older Testament to the Gentile nations.
Yeah.
He really is. He was referring to, like in the days of Noah, everyone had corrupted themselves. So he says, no, there's none righteous, no, not one. In the generation those prophets were speaking, they were speaking to the nations. The nations have corrupted themselves. But in the nation of Israel, there's always been a remnant of righteous people. Always. If there wasn't, we would not have righteous people on the earth today. Because there would never be any passing down of righteousness from one generation to the next. What is righteousness? It's not perfection. It's doing what's right because it's the right thing to do, horizontally. And righteousness vertically is only God depositing that righteousness through Messiah to you. So there's vertical righteousness. That's one direction across, right? And then there's horizontal righteousness. Doing what's right to our fellow man. Okay, I gotta finish. The last one I think is hilarious to me in some respect and sad in another. The word for violence is what? Hamas. Now think about in our world politically. Hamas is violence. What does Hamas, this Islamic group, do? They create violence. All right? So let's quickly, as we close, let's take a look at the portion. So now you should want to look at this page. And let's read the first word. The first word, ele, say ele. Now, for those that don't know, there is a page with all the Strong's Concordance references to each word for you to look up on your own, online, or if you have a Strong's Concordance. So you can literally break down each word. These are usually in a root form in the Strong's, but here they're transliterated. When you look at the number, it'll give you only the root, not the transliterated form or conjugated form, okay? So let's say ele, toldot, Noach. So that's one statement. This is the generation of Noach. And then Noah's second sentence. Noach, ish, sadiq. What does ish mean? Man. How do you say woman? Isha. So ish sadiq, a righteous man. So what does God say about Noah? He was a righteous man. I want to sing the Fiddler on the Roof for someone.
Yeah.
Very rich man. Okay, so then he also says he's not only righteous, but he is what? Tamim. He's perfect, blameless. There's nothing that God could say, you have fallen in the ditch and you haven't gotten back up yet. He was righteous before God. Didn't mean he never sinned. It just meant he was perfect in his heart towards God to always say, okay, God, I've fallen from you. I come back to you. And he's quick to change the error of his ways. Now, it goes on to use the verb for the past, to be, or was. Haya. It will say haya. Haya bedorotam. Oh, excuse me, bedorotav. Haya bedorotav. So it says, Tamim haya, perfect he was, in his generation. Notice the letter beit is the prefix for in, because it's a picture of a house. Right, the letter beit is a house, as in Bethlehem, means house of what? Bread. Beit lechem, house of bread. So beit means it's a house you built to come into. So it uses a prefix for in. What's the first word in the Torah? Bereshit, which means in or at, and the word for first. So we say in the beginning, but it's really at first. God created the heavens, and then he created the earth. That gives us order, it gives us structure, and it gives us divine command. Okay? So then, bedorotav means in his generation. Right? And then we have the direct object indicator, et, which you can see that the aleph tav can also speak of Yeshua, the Messiah, or his divine, the presence of the divine word in operation here. Et ha-Elohim. I believe that the word of God is always with the righteous anyway. And so if you think about the word became flesh and dwelt among us, the aleph tav is really the alpha and the omega. But in this case, it's meant to be a direct object indicator to ha-Elohim, the God of all gods. And then here it says the verb from halach, it says hit, halech, Noah. So literally the et in this case is translated to be with. With the God of all gods, he walked, Noah. So Noah walked with God. But it literally says, with God, he walked. Who? Noah. Okay, so with God he walked. Okay, and it literally, the hit palel form means he walked for himself. He chose to walk. He walked for himself with God. He didn't have God forcing him to walk. He chose to walk. Okay? We got to close in prayer. It is time. Taking you over time today. Let's go ahead and close in prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King, we thank you for blessing this time as students to learn your Hebrew tongue. We pray, Lord God, you bless the congregation today as we look at Parashat Noach and crown the Torah today. B'Shem Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
How שתדע